Semifinals, wide receiver rankings. We'll also do quarterbacks and tight ends all in one. It's just me today. Congrats to Josh, Sierra, and Baby J. Everyone healthy on their end. Awesome photo of Josh. Go to make sure you guys check that out. Give some congrats down in the chat for us. Also wanted to just do everything at once because we have 2 games on Saturday. We had that crazy Thursday night football game. We got college football playoff tonight and tomorrow. So just want to get everything done on a Friday morning. And plus, we also have apparently this Jake Paul, Anthony Joshua fight, which we have in the Underdog Pick'em lobby. Promo code the show, play 5, get 75. We also have like Josh Allen gimmies. There's a bunch of stuff going on in the promo world over on Underdog, but Anthony Joshua is going to kick Josh Paul's ass. I think that's what's going to happen here. It's 2025, year of authenticity. Jake Paul knows he needs to get knocked out cold at some point. This is the one. All right. But we're here for the wide receiver rankings. And number 1 for me is Amon-Ra St. Brown. 81.5 total yards in the Pick'em lobby. I really like this one. Last week, it was the highest wide receiver usage of any receiver in any game this entire season, up at 32 expected points. Jared Goff played really, really well in comeback mode this week. They're back at home, and they're first in projected points at 29.5. The Steelers right now have been a lot worse against slot wide receivers than outside wide receivers. One of their starting outside wide receivers is also injured. The reason being they moved Jalen Ramsey to the back end. So now they're kind of targeting this underneath spot. So this is a great spot for Amon-Ra St. Brown. Number 2, I got Ja'Marr Chase. I'm expecting T. Higgins to miss. He's been limited in practice. They've been eliminated from the playoffs. We'll see. But in the last 2 games without T. Higgins, Ja'Marr Chase had 20 and 21 expected half PPR points. That would easily be the most across the season if that holds. This is a great spot. Team total is really high. They're playing the Dolphins. The weather shouldn't be that crazy down in Miami. Team totals that get 25 points. We know Ja'Marr Chase without T. Higgins is a total layup. Nico Collins is my wide receiver 3. Obviously, we've removed the 2 receivers from Thursday Night Football. So Nico Collins, just an awesome player. You were seeing the yards after the catch ability pop off again. CJ Stroud's throwing the ball over the middle at a really high level, and then Nico Collins can obviously win over the top. It's a pretty vanilla defense. We're talking about the Raiders. They're completely just a terrible defense. One of their starting corners is also on injured reserve. So Nico Collins, you're starting to see some plays out of structure from CJ Stroud, but it's those like classic digs and kind of glance routes over the middle that have really been popping for the Texans recently. So that offense is really taking off. They're top 5 in projected points at home here. Love everything about Nico Collins. AJ Brown is up next. He's the wide receiver 4 on wide receiver 9 usage this month. What was interesting last week, they didn't have to pass the ball very much because, once again, the Raiders defense was terrible, but we saw them go under center. A lot of those passes went to Dallas Goedert, but they were really effective. And that was kind of a wrinkle that we've been asking the Eagles to hit on. So more under center play action shots will mean better things for AJ Brown moving forward. He's been peppered with targets up until this last game. In this last game, he still had awesome plays down the field. So this is a great spot to do that exact same thing against the Commanders. As a reminder, Marshawn Lattimore, injured reserve. Trey Amos, injured reserve. Mike Sanders still on the perimeter, but he's an undersized player. Love AJ Brown here. This is just a great spot, eruption spot according to the EPA. CeeDee Lamb, and we'll do George Pickens kind of back to back here. Going with CeeDee Lamb, just a little bit more kind of that baseline that we're looking for here. But this is not an easy spot because the Chargers' zone defense is really, really strong. But it should be a high scoring game. We're inside once again. The Cowboys are at home. The Chargers pass rush isn't that threatening. And I just trust Dak Prescott to kind of figure out these kind of zone defenses. So we saw last week with Brian Flores. I thought Dak Prescott got fooled a couple times, but for the most part played really well. I'm expecting pretty similar numbers here for CeeDee Lamb and George Pickens. Pickens, his effort wasn't the problem last week. They kind of just took him away schematically. And you can do that with a boundary receiver a lot easier than with a slot wide receiver like CeeDee Lamb. But if you're going to be in the kind of quarters world, which the Chargers run a lot, you can kind of beat these looks over the top and with these kind of comeback routes underneath. So I don't think that George Pickens can get like the double teams that he was getting with Brian Flores. So I'm expecting a bounce back spot for George Pickens. I didn't think that effort was an issue this last week, at least. Maybe a little bit of a surprise here, but I'm going with Chris Olave. He's been rock solid since Tyler Shuck has came into the building, but now we don't have Devon Vele, who's actually like getting a lot of targets. We don't have either of the top three running backs, I should say, now that Devin Neal is also on injured reserve. So it's like Audric Estime, who I think you can only give the ball to so many times. I've seen Tyler Shuck just work like the backside dig way too often to believe that Chris Olave can't have monster games down the stretch. I also have seen Chris Olave work over the top where he's barely been missed by Tyler Shuck down the field. But I think Shuck has been playing actually really, really strong football recently. The Jets, they just fired their defensive coordinator in Steve Wilks. Sauce Gardner's traded. Quinnen Williams is traded. The team total is no longer by the Browns and the Jets. It's up a tier, closer to like league average on the team level. So Chris Olave is by himself. It's him and Juwan Johnson in the pass game. And I just kind of trust Tyler Shuck to be better than a lot of rookie quarterbacks at this point. All right, J-Mo. I've kind of gone back and forth. I think I could make the argument that he should even go higher than this. James Pierre. This is a Steelers corner who you guys might not have heard of before. I believe he's actually Lamar Jackson's like cousin, and he actually had an interception against Lamar Jackson. That's where I learned that one from. But he's been playing pretty well. He's been on the outside since they moved Jalen Ramsey back to safety since week 10. They've allowed the fourth fewest yards to outside receivers. But that's also because James Pierre has been playing well, and I'm not sure if he's going to actually play in this one. So that would be a big deal. James Pierre, a corner, not playing in this one. Also, J-Mo's just been excellent working down the field, and the Lions have the highest team total. Game really, really matters for the Lions. Every game does for them at this point. Back at home, projected for 30 points. And then I don't think that we'll see TJ Watt back either with that weird lung issue that they got going on. So lots of injuries right now for the Steelers, and J-Mo's going to eat. DK Metcalf, asterisk being, I have not got DK Metcalf's ranking right this entire season. He's been totally up and down. I've been chasing his points. I've been ranking him low. He goes crazy. This is a game where I think we can all agree on it should be a big DK Metcalf game. Number one, the offense has kind of found their groove recently. Aaron Rodgers has been playing better football in December than he was in September. The Lions secondary right now, they're missing a starting corner. They're missing both of their safeties at this point. They play a lot of man coverage, and the only wide receiver who can beat man coverage in Pittsburgh is DK Metcalf. On top of that, the Steelers offense can get really, really conservative. Lots of running back targets, lots of tight end usage in general. Sometimes DK Metcalf gets used underneath. But when you're 7-point dogs and you're facing the Lions, I think you're going to have to actually use DK Metcalf in more like traditional ways, lean into like the normal drop back game, more downfield attempts for DK Metcalf. And we saw that touchdown this last game. So I'm buying high on DK Metcalf. He's at 60 receiving yards in the underdog pick'em lobby. I really like the Amon-Ra projection. I like the DK Metcalf one. If you guys want to tie those two together. My boy Courtland Sutton up next. Yeah, I mean, this one seems pretty automatic to me as well. What we've seen since the J.K. Dobbins injury is the Broncos just passing the ball more and more and more. I think they haven't loved what they're gotten from R.J. Harvey. I think they're starting to trust Bo Nix just a little bit more. So over the last month of the season, the Broncos are actually third in neutral pass rate. And that's really helped Courtland Sutton in particular. He's the wide receiver 9 on wide receiver 11 usage this month. Last week was a season high, 15 expected half PPR points. I posted it onto Twitter, but he was in one-on-one situations and was just cooking dudes like in different ways, like high point passes, beat him off the line, stack him, win downfield. Bo Nix was on the money. And I think that those two guys have emerging chemistry after kind of a weird middle of the season. But this is where Courtland Sutton's kind of lives, like an upside wide receiver 2 for the last 2 seasons. And then in terms of the matchup, this entire season, offenses facing Jacksonville have had the highest neutral pass rate on the season. So that's third highest this month for the Broncos, highest defensively against Jacksonville this year at home. Huge game. If they win this one, they pretty much get the first seed. And I think Courtland Sutton just been playing really good football. DeVonta Smith's been very up and down. Last week didn't get targeted too often, but over the course of the last month or so, he's still the wide receiver 25 in usage. We just haven't seen the long touchdown in a little bit. We saw the big play out and up, awesome pass to DeVonta Smith. Wasn't targeted very often, but once again, that was because it was a blowout. Philly, same situation as last week. Matchup is super clean, projected for 26 points. The Commanders have allowed the second most receptions to wide receivers in the slot. They can move DeVonta Smith in there even if he is on the perimeter like he typically is. I already mentioned it with A.J. Brown. We're dealing with backups to the backups to the backups in Washington, and their defense is just tragic. So great buy low spot for DeVonta Smith, if we can even call it that. Obviously a fantastic player. Michael Wilson. I officially have Michael Wilson ahead of Marvin Harrison. This assumes Marvin Harrison is going to play. He's been limited in practice with that heel injury. I've seen the practice reps. He seems like he's moving fine enough, maybe not full capacity. So if we're going to get Marvin Harrison back in the lineup, but he's not fully himself, and Michael Wilson's just been balling, I do want to have a pretty aggressive ranking on Michael Wilson still. In the 4 games without Marvin Harrison, he's averaging almost 20 expected half PPR points. That's crazy. But the last 2 games with Marvin Harrison and Jacoby Brissett, that's down to 11, which is still plenty good enough. And I think that's more of the floor because Michael Wilson's breakout to me has been extremely real. And I think the good times are going to continue to roll. Jacoby Brissett has 56 more dropbacks than the quarterback 2 since week 6 when he became the starting quarterback. That includes that he already had a bye week on top of that. So Trey McBride, Michael Wilson, and Marvin Harrison could theoretically all get home in the same game here. Team total is rock solid, above average at almost 23 points. They're at home. I just think Michael Wilson's good. And if Marvin Harrison is out, I would probably have him right by Nico Collins, A.J. Brown, and CeeDee Lamb. Everything about this breakout has been real. Mike Evans, he's still on the injury report, but last week, season high, 18 expected half PPR points. I thought he had some vintage moments. He really landed on his back and shoulder a couple times there, was able to survive it for the most part. I thought his speed looked normal. You're obviously going to get the red zone jump ball situations. What's a little bit different now with Mike Evans than before is, one, Baker Mayfield's been a lot more up and down. He's missing both of their guards at the moment. I think that's kind of impacted Baker Mayfield. But the real thing has been this 4th wide receiver, Jalen McMillan. He's also back with that neck injury. They're using all 4 of these wide receivers, and they've, since that last game with McMillan, who played really well in that one, they said that they want to continue to ramp up his snaps. So Mike Evans was out there for 72% of the routes last week. So he's not a full-time player. That said, Bucs are projected for almost 25 points. This game's against the Carolina Panthers. It's almost a must-win game for both teams over there. And the last season, Mike Evans had 97 yards, 2 touchdowns, 118 yards, and a touchdown against Carolina. So I think he's maybe a little bit more volatile than his stats would kind of indicate. But the fact that he's healthy and playing well this last week makes him a strong wide receiver too. Jauan Jennings and his crazy hair and his crazy trash talk will park him right inside the wide receiver 2 rankings here. This last month, he's the wide receiver 13 on wide receiver 19 usage. That was when they've had pretty much everybody back and healthy. Ricky Pearsall, CMC, and George Kittle were all out there, and Jauan Jennings was continuing to eat. You see him used in the red zone. You see him against zone coverage. He's kind of the guy working over the middle, willing to take a big hit. And this week, just a great spot for it. I just have the 2nd highest team total of the week. We're in a dome, which really matters when we're talking about December games. And the Colts, both their top 2 corners are out. We'll see about DeForest Buckner as well. Matchup note, the Colts have allowed the most receptions to slot receivers. That's not exactly Jauan Jennings' role, but they will move him inside. It's kind of the same situation based off of his usage in the offense. So it's just a really, really strong spot. I think that his touchdown odds are kind of make up the difference versus some of the other wide receivers here who we'll get to, who might have more targets, but They're projected for almost 27 points in a game that obviously really matters. Jakobi Meyers, you trade a third-round pick for him. You sign him to a 3-year, $40 million guaranteed contract, $60 million if he can last all 3 seasons. First, just wanted to hit on this. That's just straight up bad news for Travis Hunter next year in Dynasty. Right now, you can look at their wide receiver room, compare it to the corner room. The corner room is a lot worse than the receiver room. We'll see about Brian Thomas. Teams typically don't trade, someone that was this productive, drafted this high at a premium position going into their 3rd year. Crazier things have happened, though. Let's see if they want to kind of rearrange this receiver room. But Jakobi Meyers just been really strong over the middle. I know everyone talks about it, but it is true. Like, he just been awesome on these comeback routes over the middle, these dig routes over the middle, these little crossing routes that they've been hitting with. He's good in this screen game on top of that. So I get it. I get the contract for him. Makes me a little bit nervous for everybody else in that offense, but we'll figure that out in the offseason. For this week, his matchup is just a lot easier. So we're going to have Brian Thomas, X receiver on the outside versus Patrick Surtain. That's like size and speed versus size and speed. And then on the inside will be Jakobi Meyers against a little bit of Riley Moss, but then we'll get him to actually against the nickel spot there. The slot is where you're going to beat the Denver Broncos. They've allowed the 7th most receptions to wide receivers who were lined up in the slot for that rep. So that's kind of how you're going to beat the Denver Broncos. Jakobi Meyers at 58.5 receiving yards in the Pick'em lobby this month. Wide receiver 17 on wide receiver 15 usage. Let's just stick right in that ballpark.
If you are anything like me, you wait until the last minute to get certain people in your family gifts. It can be extended family, aunts, uncles, cousins, even sometimes parents, grandparents. I have the perfect one for all of you. Yes, bang. It's the Aura Carver matte frame. The cool thing about Aura is everything's online. You can just straight upload from your phone pictures into this frame. One, your parents, grandparents, whatever, will not annoy you any longer to say, hey, send me a photo of your child, my grandchild, so on and so forth. And 2, I mean, you can even look at this. Take off this slide. It's already set up perfectly to just be wrapped. It looks nice. It has free unlimited photo storage. Again, as soon as you take a photo of, let's say, your kid's soccer game, or man, they take their first steps, boom, upload to your Aura frame, and they see it instantly from their living room. It's going to turn to like their favorite activity just to see the new photos every single morning. So for a limited time, save on the perfect gift by visiting auraframes.com to get $35 off Aura's best-selling Carver matte frames, named #1 by Wirecutter, by using promo code THESHOW at checkout. That's AURA frames.com, promo code THESHOW. This deal is exclusive to listeners, and frames sell out fast. So order yours now to get it in time for the holidays. Support the show by mentioning us at checkout. Terms and conditions apply.
Tetairoa McMillan, it's time to get the rookie of the year, at least in my eyes, kind of back in the limelight here. It's been a little bit of a quiet month for him. Last week, he really just should have had a touchdown. Bryce Young just missed him twice, one for a touchdown, one just for a key first down. It happens. He was a DNP on Wednesday with an ankle injury, but he was a full participant on Thursday. He said he's playing through that ankle injury, but for the most part, I think that he's going to be back and highly targeted in this one. The matchup's just really clean for him. Offenses, they just can't run the ball on the Buccaneers. That's been the case for a long time. That will continue to be the case until Vita Vea retires. And then on top of that, the Buccaneers, Zion McCollum, one of their key starters in the secondary, he was just placed on injured reserve. So I think you're going to get more routes for Tetairoa McMillan, and the matchup gets cleaner here. So I'm kind of going back to where we were ranking him before he kind of stalled out recently. And I just don't think the Panthers can continue to be dead last in neutral pass rate in a matchup like this one. The Panthers pretty much have to win these games down the stretch to make the playoffs. So I would kind of lean into Tetairoa McMillan. And then I actually even have Jalen Coker ranked high enough to talk about him in this episode as well. Zay Flowers, we finally got the touchdown for him. An absolute beauty of a pass from Lamar Jackson, out and up over the top of the safety in the back pylon of the end zone. That was awesome. Lamar Jackson also escaped to his right, found a cover 2 spot, kind of floated the ball over to Zay Flowers, who kind of Willie mazes it and takes a big hit. It was the best Zay Flowers and Lamar have looked together in a really long time. The Ravens are 7th in projected points. They're home favorites against the Patriots. Every game matters for the Ravens at this point. Carlton Davis hasn't practiced. Neither has Marcus Jones. That's their second in slot corner. That really matters. I think we will see some Christian Gonzalez, who's like twice the size of Zay Flowers. But for the most part, the Patriots defense, I think, is pretty mediocre in general. They're dealing with a lot of injuries. That's Milton Williams. Robert Spillane over the middle hasn't practiced much. And I'm talking about these 2 corners as well. So I think the Patriots defense is pretty gettable right now. And the most important part of that is Lamar Jackson just looked healthy. Like, he took off a little bit, not peak Lamar Jackson, not going back to his rookie year and second season Lamar Jackson, but he looked healthy enough to be an elite quarterback. And hopefully that means Zay Flowers continues to kind of show some like games where he can actually find the end zone, because he has been a total monster in terms of receiving yards. It just really has been the touchdowns. All right. Josh isn't here, which means we can rank DJ Moore appropriately. Rome Odunze, foot injury. Luther Burden, ankle injury, both ruled out. DJ Moore is just in a perfect spot here. It's him and Olamide Zaccheaus at the outside wide receiver spots. And man, like after that, it gets really, really bleak for the Chicago Bears. So DJ Moore should be a full-time player. That has not been the case this season, but this last month, DJ Moore is a wide receiver 23 on wide receiver 31 usage. And I just expect him to that usage to go up even higher without Odunze and Burden. The Packers defense is obviously a lot worse without Micah Parsons rushing the passer. It's also worse because Devontae Wyatt, a defensive tackle, is out. Their secondary is, I think, got like some decent pieces, but you kind of pepper them underneath and win like yards after catch wise. That's how you kind of beat this zone coverage that they run out there. Team total is rock solid. I think everything about this would be a lot of carries to the running backs and then some DJ Moore yards after the catch plays. I think that's going to be how they move the ball. So this is the highest I've ranked DJ Moore in a long time, but I think it's totally justified. Wan'Dale Robinson, I couldn't believe this. I refreshed the model. I do that every single Monday. He pops up. He's the wide receiver 7 on wide receiver 7 usage this month. Now, one of those games was a huge Jameis Winston game, but Jackson Dart continues to impress me. He had a couple of really nice throws this last game. There's been kind of like a floor that's emerged with Wan'Dale Robinson, with Jackson Dart. They played 9 games together. In those games, he's averaged 10.4 expected half PPR points, which is like rock solid wide receiver 2, wide receiver 3 numbers there. The challenge for this one, and with Jackson Dart and my quarterback rankings in a bit, is just it's freaking Brian Flores. And we always talk about this. When Dak Prescott's playing Brian Flores, not us concerned. He's seen everything. When Jackson Dart goes from the offense that he was running at Ole Miss, which very fun offense, but kind of like in its own spectrum, versus now you get Brian Flores, who is blitzing at pretty much like 2 times the rate of the rest of the league and disguising looks. That's when I get a little bit nervous. So I did move Wan'Dale Robinson a little bit lower just because the matchup. That said, they do bring a lot of pressure. And when they do bring a lot of pressure, they still hang out in 2 high shells. How do you beat that? Replace the blitzer, throw the ball underneath, which in theory does work towards what Wan'Dale Robinson wants to do. But team total is a little bit lower than it typically is at 20.5 points. That makes sense to me. Big test for Jackson Dart. If you can kind of pass this one, then the Giants are in pretty good shape. All right, my wide receiver 22, wide receiver 20, if we remove JSN and Puka, is Ladd McConkey. He has been nowhere near this for quite a while. Pretty much like once you removed Joe Alt from the picture, nobody with the Chargers has really gotten home. The difference is the Cowboys haven't stopped anybody in years at wide receiver. So this year they've allowed the most EPA to receivers. Jerron Bland, they just put him on injured reserve with a foot injury. They don't have Diggs. Their rookie corner went to day 2 because he was coming off a torn ACL, and teams just like typically target rookie corners, even if they're good. And we don't know if this rookie corner is even good. He's been picked on, in my opinion, since returning to the lineup. This ranking assumes Quentin Johnston's not going to play. He's been limited with a groin injury. We'll kind of double check the injury reports on that one. But this should just be a spot. No excuses. Justin Herbert, Ladd McConkey, you got to pick apart this Cowboys pass defense. It's horrific. So it's actually one of my favorite pick'em projections. And actually quite a while. Ladd McConkey, 44.5 receiving yards. I just think he's much better than that. So promo code the show, play 5, get 75 over on Underdog Pick'em. We're in more states than ever. I think it's like up to 40 states. We got prediction markets, which means that some of you guys also get sides and totals from like the team perspective. Lots of innovation coming from Underdog. Lots of promos right now as we get into the holidays. And I know some of you guys had an awesome Thursday night football because that game went to the absolute moon. So Ladd McConkey, 44.5 receiving yards. That's, I think, my favorite one of the episode right now. He's just too good for that. All right, Marvin Harrison Jr. Don't know if he's going to play. He's been limited so far. He's been working behind Michael Wilson in the kind of order in practice. That's how I have it in my rankings as well. I'm expecting him to be out there and maybe not be fully himself. On top of that, Michael Wilson's just really damn good. So is Trey McBride. So Marvin Harrison, his role is the hardest. He's doesn't get moved around very often. He has to beat press man coverage. He has to win down the field. So he's more volatile than how Michael Wilson and Trey McBride have been used. But that said, Jacoby Brissett just like dropping back 50 times per game. And the 4 games with Jacoby Brissett is 4 healthy games. Marvin Harrison averaging 13.1 expected half PPR points. That's really, really strong. So I think you can totally defend both of these guys inside the top 20. Maybe I do that by the end of the year once Marvin Harrison proves to me that he's moving around well enough. But right now, just it's hard to fade anybody attached to the Cardinals pass game right now just because they can't run the ball. They can't play defense. Another tricky one, Jayden Reed. This is assuming Christian Watson can't play. He went DNP to limited. It's a chest injury. They had to go get like a CAT scan in the hospital. Like, I don't know, man. Like, if Christian Watson returns, that's awesome. I'm assuming he's not going to play. And that just means that Jayden Reed, he's not going to play more snaps because he's still like pigeonholed into this slot role. But he just means he's going to be like more targeted. He's just going to be a bigger focal point in the offense. It's also a great spot for him individually, whether Christian Watson plays or not. Bears right now, backup corner in the slot. Kyler Gordon's back on injured reserve with a groin injury. When we were talking about the Bears defense back in like September and October and how terrible they were, a big reason was because they could not defend slot wide receivers because Kyler Gordon was out. So now that Kyler Gordon's back out, we need to kind of double down on this one. So Josh Jacobs is banged up. Christian Watson's banged up. No Tucker Kraft. Like we're running out of bodies here. It was a full-blown rotation between the top 4 wide receivers after Christian Watson left. But Jayden Reed would be the one who I would expect to have like the most like shot plays kind of dialed up for him if you would ask LaFleur. Terry McLaurin. The reality is he's been way better than this since he's come back from injury. But at the same time, Quinyon Mitchell is an all-pro corner. He's probably been the best corner throughout the entire season, acknowledging that Patrick Surtain missed like a good month of the season. He's just a monster. He's so physical. He's so fast. He can play a lot of man coverage. He can also just read things out in Vic Fangio's zone defense. On top of that, Laramie Tunsil, the left tackle for the Commanders, he's not going to play. Marcus Mariota has been more aggressive this year, but you'd still probably rather have Jaden Daniels. So he's been the wide receiver 10 in usage this month. It's just an extremely difficult matchup. Team totals under 20 points on top of that. So love Terry McLaurin. He's been awesome. He looks healthy right now, but this is a pretty difficult matchup. So he's like not a must play. I think most teams you'd still need to play him, but he's not the like top 10, top 15 wide receiver that he's been producing like. And that brings us to the impossible one. You know, like if you have to start him, go for it. There's no way you're starting him, I totally understand that. I'll continue to kind of split the difference here. He's been the wide receiver 32 in usage You don't get fantasy points by just being targeted. You got to catch the ball. That's been like 80% JJ McCarthy problem. And then Justin Jefferson, 20%. He had that drop in the end zone. If there was going to be a week Justin Jefferson goes crazy, it would have to be against the Giants, right? Like the Giants keep firing defensive coaches. They keep benching defensive backs. Look, man, like nobody knows with Justin Jefferson. We're guessing 54.5 receiving yards in the pick'em lobby. I'm guessing boom bust wide receiver 3 is where he belongs. JJ McCarthy was playing maybe a little bit more on time in the offense, but that was to the tight ends, and he still missed Justin Jefferson on a big crossing route. So I don't know. At least McCarthy's playing a little bit better now. At least the matchup is good to go, but you're probably in your consolation bracket if you have Justin Jefferson anyways. Emeka Egbuka. This one's tough. With Mike Evans, we talked about it. With Jalen McMillan back in there, it's going to be a 4 wide receiver rotation. That means Emeka Egbuka is no longer going to be a full-time player, most likely. Last week was a season low in usage at 9.4 expected points. It's not a surprise because everyone is healthy. It is a must-win game. I know Emeka Egbuka is good. I know that the Bucs are projected for 24.5 points, so I do think that he's still squarely in the boom-bust wide receiver 3 range. He's actually the wide receiver 20 in usage this month. He just has not produced like that. Just super important game. So I think we're in like the boom bust tier, but I don't want to completely like disregard Emeka just because he hasn't been producing lately. I'm getting pretty close to disregarding everything about the Dolphins, man. Quinn Ewers is just bad. Like this is how you know quarterbacks are bad. When you go to the biggest schools, Texas, Ohio State, USC, and then you get drafted in the 7th round and you were a 5-star recruit, that's just like enough to know that you're not going to be good. And I think his arm's kind of shot. I think his feet are kind of all over the place. So as much as I have not enjoyed the Tua stuff, I think Quinn Ewers is going to be a downgrade in general. This month, Jaylen Waddle is the wide receiver 30 and wide receiver 35 usage. The Bengals are, in theory, a decent matchup, but not for top wide receivers. DJ Turner still playing really good football, and that's who Waddle is going to be facing. So, yeah, they've just been dead last in wide receiver usage this month, and now Darren Waller's like starting to dunk on guys in the red zone too. So, move Jaylen Waddle. Like a big reset, I think, is completely warranted for him going into the fantasy playoffs. Adonai Mitchell. Once again, it's going to be Brady Cook. This last month, partially with Brady Cook, partially with Tyrod, Adonai's been the wide receiver 24 on wide receiver 16 usage. He did score a touchdown with Brady Cook. His tape's been like pretty damn good. So shout out to all the believers, the long-term believers in Adonai Mitchell. There's just like big like comeback routes that he's looked good on, kind of shook somebody for that touchdown in the red zone too. So you know what you're signing up for when you got the Jets here, but I actually do think he looks like a starting wide receiver. I'm going to actually guess that he's going to be the wide receiver 2 behind Garrett Wilson for the Jets in 2026 as well. His tape looks solid. Saints defense is not an easy matchup, and I don't trust Brady Cook at all, but boom bust wide receiver 3, I think that's totally warranted. All right, tricky one. Everything's changed for Xavier Worthy here. I'm assuming Rashee Rice and Tyquan Thornton are going to miss with their concussions. Rashee Rice, he was in the protocol on Monday, so he was already a day behind there. And when Rashee Rice was not in the lineup, Xavier Worthy, this was a long time ago, was averaging 11.5 expected half PPR points. That's equivalent to like wide receiver 19 in usage. The problem is that was with Patrick Mahomes, not Gardner Minshew. Now, Gardner Minshew, what is he good at? I guess like RPO world stuff, throws the ball within 2-3 seconds out to the flats. And that's in theory where Xavier Worthy is like kind of most used at this point. That's especially true without Rashee Rice. So matchups at least clean too. It's the Tennessee Titans. We'll see. I'm curious if they're going to use him like in the gadget roll stuff because he kind of has to have that to matter. Gardner Minshew's not had a good deep ball in a very, very long time. So I think his ceiling is a lot lower, but maybe they give him enough manufacturer touches so he can get to like 40, 50 yards. Right now he's at 35.5 receiving yards in the pick and lobby. So we've kind of like hit a wall here. Deebo Samuel, just a really tough spot as well. You got the Eagles. That means Quinyon Mitchell and Terry McLaurin, but that also means Cooper DeJean, on Deebo Samuel in the slot. Deebo just hasn't been as good on tape to me recently. He seems maybe a half step slower. He's got some like concentration drops. Some of the screen game stuff has just like not worked out recently. In the 5 games with Terry McLaurin back in the lineup, Deebo's got equivalent to like wide receiver 36 usage. So kind of been like a little bit of a reset recently for Deebo. Commanders only projected for 19 points. Already mentioned it. No Larry McTunstall at left tackle as well. So full reset for Deebo Samuel. Brian Thomas, he had almost 15 expected half PPR points this last game. The Jaguars passed the ball like crazy against the Jets. The Jets are just so bad on defense, my God. But that's the exact opposite against the Broncos, especially for Brian Thomas. He's going to go up against Patrick Surtain, who should be fully healthy after missing a little bit of time here. He's played the last couple of weeks. He should be back in a groove. That's just an impossible matchup, man. Like, Trevor Lawrence will take his shots. Brian Thomas could definitely win over the top at times, but the like consistency, like the floor ability for Brian Thomas right now is just a lot worse because Jakobi Meyers working over the middle, Brenton Strange, Parker Washington, I'll throw out Travis Etienne, all those guys like being underneath like more manufactured targets in the offense makes Brian Thomas a lot more boom bust. And this week it's Patrick Surtain. Throwing Keenan Allen up here right now. This obviously assumes Quentin Johnson is out. This is probably in the tier where I would be ranking Quentin Johnson if he was able to play. Either way, I just wanted to like acknowledge once again, Cowboys defense stinks. They're terrible. Okay. Everyone got that? They stink. So Keenan Allen or Quentin Johnson, somewhere in this tier, will get the final injury report in a bit. By the way, the Chargers, Trey Harris is playing more because he can block and he's a second rounder. They want to get him some snaps. That's meant Oronde Gadsden snaps have come down. That means Quentin Johnson and Keenan Allen snaps have come down. So there's a big rotation right now. Even if Quentin Johnson does miss again, Keenan Allen's not a full-time player. He is just one of the highest targeted players in 3 wide receiver sets. And when he gets targeted, he's like actually picking up a lot of first downs. So his usage has really come down, but it's in theory a good spot. Jayden Higgins, rookie, same scenario here. He's not a full-time player. The Texans are using Xavier Hutchinson. They still got Christian Kirk, Jalen Knoll, all out there in addition to Nico Collins. I think Higgins' tape's been really good. This ranking's more of just Raiders secondary is terrible. The Texans have a top 5 team total, and I think that Higgins' zone coverage feels pretty good for a rookie. And that's where the Raiders live in right now. So just hoping for a touchdown. Every other wide receiver we're going to get to, their receiving yards are in like the 30s or maybe like 41, 42. So we're just kind of touchdown hunting at this point. I'll take Jayden Higgins with Stroud playing well. All right, Cokeheads, here we go. Jalen Coker. This is the highest I've ranked him probably ever. Tetairoa McMillan's going to play, but Jalen Coker this month is the wide receiver 12 on wide receiver 52 usage. He's been running absolutely pure. It's been these like really nice kind of anticipation throws with Bryce Young that's been getting home. I just think they're going to have to double down on Jalen Coker when you have the Buccaneers defense with backups in the secondary. Their pass rush has not been getting home on top of that. I get nervous a little bit about Bryce Young against the blitz. They've been really bad at that this season. Ike Ekwonu is also not going to play, so we're like still firmly throwing darts. But I think Jalen Coker is a real player, and I think they're going to have to pass the ball more than they typically do. So give me Jalen Coker above Xavier Legette. Michael Pittman, we're trying here with Phillip Rivers. We're luckily back at home. Luckily, we're facing the 49ers injured defense and not the Seahawks. But the reality is the only time Phillip Rivers tried to put any velocity on a throw, it was intercepted. Everything else is going to be quick hitting. The ceiling is really low. I think Michael Pittman could be like pretty involved underneath, but last week was only 6.5 expected half PPR points. They're just like not a ceiling anymore with the Colts pass game. Jordan Addison, like nothing new to say. It's the same old stuff. He's the wide receiver 55 and wide receiver 51 usage. JJ McCarthy can spin the football in terms of arm strength. Kevin O'Connell wants to throw the ball downfield. Jordan Addison has been very good working downfield. in theory, he can have an 80-yard touchdown. He also can go scoreless. That's the reality of Jordan Addison right now. It's a very good matchup, but I think we all know what's going on in Minnesota. Pat Bryant was a full participant in practice this week with that hamstring injury. His last 3 healthy games, he's been the wide receiver 40 in usage. This is somebody that Josh and I really liked. I think his film has been pretty rock solid. They use him to block, which is why he's out there over like Troy Franklin's and Marvin Mims. But he's also big and physical, so you can work over the middle. You can throw him a big jump ball against man coverage on top of that. So with the Broncos being 3rd in neutral pass rate, with Jacksonville being 1st in neutral pass rate on defense, we're in a spot where I think that Bo Nix's going to drop back a little bit more than normal. And they're just playing better football right now in the pass game for Denver. So Pat Bryant just taking a big shot that he can be involved in the red area. Khalil Shakir, the Browns have allowed a league low 40 receptions to wide receivers lined up in the slot. But at the same time, as bad as the matchup is, Dalton Kincaid's probably not going to play. He hasn't practiced this much. That would be probably good news for Khalil Shakir because he only plays in the slot. So when they're debating extra tight ends or a 3rd wide receiver, that impacts Khalil Shakir the most. He's been the wide receiver 37 on wide receiver 48 usage this month. We'll see how many times the Bills actually have to drop back against the Browns. They're expected to win by a ton. Steph Diggs, this is a situation where if you like really look at the matchup, Steph Diggs seems like somebody that could be pretty involved, just how they're going to operate versus the Baltimore Ravens. Quick hitters like out to the outside is kind of how you'd move the ball against the Ravens. But Steph Diggs is like not a full-time player. It's like not even close. Like now we got like Matt Collins out there for a ton of snaps. Kyle Williams mixes in a little bit. Kayshon Boutte's back to health. Pop Douglas is out there. They use 2 tight ends. They use 2 running backs. So like Diggs just does not get the rock enough. I do think there's like some upside with him, but the reality is he's the wide receiver 65 in usage this month. So as much as I like the Patriots, as much as I enjoy Steph Diggs tape, he's just like not on the field very much. All right, last one for us here. Quite frankly, it does not deserve the nameplate, so I'm glad that producer Weaves did not give it to him. It's Darius Slayton. I mean, this month, he's the wide receiver 44 on wide receiver 49 usage. Last week, you would never know this looking at the box score, but it was a season high in 13.7 expected half PPR points. So why didn't he score a touchdown? Well, Jackson Dart throws in the complete laser beam dot to him over the top, and he just doesn't catch it. So one of these days, he will catch a touchdown. I don't know if I'll be, retired and he's just going to score a touchdown in 50 years. I don't know if it's going to be this week. I know he can do it. I'm losing a little bit of faith. I'm not going to lie. It is that Vikings defense. I don't know, man. Catch the freaking ball. If he does catch the ball, he's got some value. So
I'm sure you guys have all heard about Harry's. For me, I know I use their body wash, spring scented. Also, the beard and face wash as well. These are my go-tos on a daily basis, but we also need razors, don't we? And for many people out there, you look online, you look in the drugstore, you see, I don't know, $30 for 8 refills. I mean, that's a total scam. Instead, you need to be trying Harry's Plus. I mean, there's all these things I could talk about with Harry's Plus, but this one caught my attention. They own their own world-class blade factory in Germany. The same facility has been perfecting blade making for over 100 years. I mean, they get to control the entire process here. It's a smooth, clean shave on top of everything. So again, if you've been searching for razors or thinking of changing the one that you use, for a limited time, our listeners can get the Harry's Plus trial set for only $10 at harrys.com/the show. The set includes the all-new Harry's Plus razor, one refined 5-blade cartridge, a 2-ounce foaming shave gel, and a travel cover to protect your blades on the go. Just head to harrys.com/the show to claim this offer. And after you purchase, they'll ask you where you heard it from. Please support our show and tell them that we sent you.
All right, we're going to rearrange the order here. We will go with the tight ends before we hit on the quarterbacks. Obviously, Trey McBride's by himself. Kyle Pitts, assuming he's healthy, you got to play him. I think Drake London's probably going to miss another one. And then George Kittle, like those to me, the top three, no doubt about it. I just want to spend a little bit of time on Colston Loveland. Rome Odunze and Luther Burden are both out. Without them on the field this last game, Colston Loveland ran around on 83% of the dropbacks, which is a lot more than usual. And he had a 33% targets per route, which is fantastic. Like that's elite stuff for a wide receiver. Across the entire season without Odunze and Burden, Colston Loveland has 2.9 yards per route on a 28% target share. So what's going to happen is they're going to use more two tight end stuff. And you'll see Colston Loveland in the slot and sometimes even as an outside wide receiver. And I think he's going to be the one that's going to be playing some like the X wide receiver snaps without Odunze and Luther Burden. I think Colston Loveland is awesome. He's like making diving plays. We're getting like yards after the catch stuff with him. And then on top of that, the Packers are missing two of their most important players on the defensive line. So I think that the Bears will be able to move the ball. This is me kind of just like sticking my neck out there. I know Colston Loveland's going to be awesome for years and years and years to come. I think he's already awesome right now. And this is a game, super important game where you use your top 10 pick to like make a statement. And all the underlying data is already suggesting that would be the case. So if we get 80% of the routes, I think Colston Loveland's going to have a big day. So he's at 45.5 receiving yards. That's my pitch for Colston Loveland that high. With Harold Fannin, he ran around on 95% of the dropbacks last week. That's because David Njoku did not play with a knee injury. He had 33% targets per route. So him and Colston Loveland, very, very similar. I just obviously trust the Bears offense a whole lot more than the Browns. And that's especially true with the Bills. Lots of like crazy disguise coverages that I think is going to spook Shedeur Sanders. So still like Harold Fannin. He's the easy button in the offense, but do like Colston Loveland ahead. Brock Bowers, if Geno Smith plays, I will move Brock Bowers ahead of Colston Loveland. If Geno Smith does not play, I don't know how we can take this Raiders offense seriously. They're projected for under 12 points. Like, that's insane. It's also the Texans. So I went back and watched the Kenny Pickett game because I just like had to see what the hell happened. And Bowers had 8 targets, but they were like all little quick outs to the flats. His ADOT, average depth of target, was at 2 yards down the field. I mean, it's like so hard to like win that way. Now it's Brock Bowers, like fully recognize that, but he's the tight end 6 on tight end 6 usage this month. The offense like feels worse. So hopefully Geno can play. If not, Brock Bowers down a tier. Dallas Goedert was kind of the beneficiary of a lot of the under center play action reps. Like he'd be kind of leaking out. So that's why he had a bunch of targets this last week. I think they should continue to do that. So I do think this is the best Dallas Goedert has looked in a really long time. The Commanders' 4th worst against fantasy tight ends. Bobby Wagner, it's literally every single week. He's just chasing guys down the field after a big play. So I think that they should attack that once again. So really like Dallas Goedert this week. Once we get that next tier, all these guys are about the same. So obviously move Kelsey down without Patrick Mahomes. I think he's about to retire here. If you saw that podcast clip, he kept saying the Chiefs instead of we when talking about the 2026 version of it with Patrick Mahomes. So I think it's gonna be our last couple of weeks with Travis Kelce playing on the football field. I'm sure we will see Travis Kelce a lot moving forward, just not on the field. But moved him down. Juwan Johnson and Dalton Schultz, Jake Ferguson. These guys are full-time players. These guys are playing on functional pass games. These guys at points have been PPR scams. I like Juwan the most because Vele's out, Devin Neal's out, Alvin Kamara is out. And I think that Tyler Shuck's been playing really well. And then on top of that, we heard this from Josina Anderson and Aaron Glenn. They're linebackers. It's like the worst I've ever seen. It's actually insane. So Juwan Johnson should be feasting against those guys. Moving down the list, Hunter Henry's, this has just kind of been boom bust tier for him. Same thing with Mark Andrews. Got a lot of questions on Darren Waller. This will be the last tight end I'll mention right now. His tape is really good. The point of fantasy football is not to grade the tape. It's obviously an element, and that's why we do stats versus film, and I watch all the games on Monday and Tuesday. But he's also a part-time player in an offense that's going to be really bad, and Quinn Ewers stinks. So I get it. Like, the Bengals are terrible against the position. Their linebackers and safeties are garbage. Waller does like run a lot of like wide receiver type of reps, so it's a little bit different. He obviously has a ceiling. I just think that Quinn Ewers is really bad. So if Tua was out there, I would probably have Waller by Dallas Goedert and Brock Bowers. But I did move Waller down because Quinn Ewers is in the lineup right now. Underdog Pick'em lobby, 27.5 receiving yards for Darren Waller. So he looks good on tape, but part-time player with Quinn Ewers means that you're a boom bust tight end too, to me. Dalton Kincaid also in the mix now. He's missed 2 practices. It's the same knee injury. Sean McDermott said he's going to play here. Part-time player, huge team total. He's really efficient. It's just right now with that knee injury moved him down a little bit. But truly, like, no differences. Do not lose sleep over Kelsey to Darren Waller. It's very, very similar in general. So those are the tight ends. All right, quickly on the quarterbacks. Josh Allen's like easily the number 1 fantasy quarterback. That's always the case. I know it's the Cleveland Browns, but huge team total still. Josh Allen's a superhero. He deserves quarterback 1 ranking. Move Jalen Hurts back up to 2. They're also projected for 26 points. It's against the Commanders. They stink. We like A.J. Brown. We like DeVonta Smith. We like Dallas Goedert. How can you not like Jalen Hurts and the tush push on top of it? So he's at 21.5 fantasy points in the Pick'em lobby. Really like him. I like some of the wrinkles that they're doing. More crossing routes the last couple weeks. More under center shots off of play action. Enough wrinkles to maybe kind of be buying low on the Eagles offense right now. Lamar Jackson, I thought his tape was awesome. Talked about Zay Flowers, out and up, touchdown over the top in the back pylon, break out of contain, throw the ball to Zay Flowers against cover 2. Just no look passes to DeAndre Hopkins. We're getting just some scrambles too. So Lamar Jackson, his tape feels better. I'll call him 85% of his peak. You know, that's still a really good fantasy quarterback. The Patriots missing Milton Williams. They haven't really faced very many elite offenses this year. They did last week, and Josh Allen went absolutely psycho mode on them. So if Lamar's healthy and the Patriots are dealing with a lot of injuries on defense, that could be Spillane this week. That could be a slot corner and a second outside corner. I like Lamar Jackson a lot more now than I did previously. Brock Purdy, really aggressive ranking. I think it's totally justified, though. 49ers are second in projected points. Dome game. Colts missing a bunch of players on defense. You lose Ricky Pearsall, but there's tons of other guys to get the football to, and just as important, like Lamar Jackson, Brock Purdy was also running around. Jump pass touchdown over Jeffrey Simmons to George Kittle in the red area. Get outside the pocket, scramble, throw the ball downfield. Lots of fun stuff from Brock Purdy this last game. I think that's just going to be a shootout team the rest of the way. Drake May, more difficult matchup because it's the Ravens. The Ravens defense isn't like fantastic, but it's rock solid. We just seen the Patriots, they're second in neutral pass rate this month. Like, everything's Drake May. We had the zone read touchdown where, dude, he's so fast. And then the Travion big play. Drake May, I mean, how many quarterbacks in a straight line are faster than Drake May? I would go with like full Lamar Jackson. I think Allen versus May in a straight line would be pretty damn close. There's not many that would be straight up faster. Maybe Caleb right now, but Drake May hauls ass. So got the quarterback draw in the red area. So lots of fun stuff with Drake May as usual. Dak Prescott, Jared Goff, Joe Burrow, Justin Herbert. Let's kind of group all these guys together. More statue quarterbacks. All of them projected for a lot of points. So on the low end, that's Justin Herbert, but that's against the Cowboys. And then on the high end, that's Jared Goff at projected for 29.5 points. That's the most of the week. And then Prescott and Burrow, not the easiest matchups ever with the Chargers and the Dolphins kind of run sophisticated defenses, but it's also Burrow and Dak Prescott. The entire offense runs through those guys. So those are the top ones. And then Bo Nix is a pretty difficult one because he has a lot of ceiling, actually. They're passing the ball at the third highest rate this month. Bo Nix has been scrambling, and they can get him in the quarterback design game. We haven't seen them do that quite as much, but this is kind of the time where you would be running your quarterback a little bit more. So I think a lot of dropbacks for Bo Nix. I think that he is firmly a fantasy quarterback one. Same thing with Jakobi Brissett, like firmly a quarterback one. 56 more pass attempts in the quarterback two since week 6, like too big to fail. Once you get Marvin Harrison back out there, the offense kind of like fits like a glove. They can't run the ball. They're on like their 4th string running back. He's got 3 backup offensive linemen, but his defense is also bad. The Falcons defense has been like very up and down this season as well. So yeah, Jakobi Brissett, like too big to fail. CJ Stroud, massive team total, top 5 on the week, up at 26 points at home. It's the freaking Raiders. CJ Stroud's running the ball a little bit more as well. Great in the scramble game. On top of that, he just seen the field really well. So CJ Stroud's playing good ball. Jackson Dart, we got quarterback designed carries this last week, including at the goal line. He had 9 rushes. He got tackled on 6 of them, slid or dove for 3 of them. But he just doesn't give a shit, man. Like, it's just time to go. Now, it's Brian Flores, who also doesn't give a shit. So this is just going to be like a total chaos game. I cannot wait to watch Jackson Dart versus Brian Flores. I'm going to guess the passing numbers come down. Then Jackson Dart kind of has a fine enough game because he will run. Caleb Williams knocked him because his top 2 wide receivers are out. But at the same time, the Packers' 2 top defensive linemen are out. He also runs. So that's just offense is more committed to running the football than some of the other offense we talked about. So have him down a tier. Jordan Love's not going to have his right tackle and Zach Tom. I don't think Christian Watson's going to play. So we're losing bodies. No Tucker Kraft. He's playing like a borderline MVP, but a lot harder to do. Did mention the Bears losing Kyler Gordon is a big deal for that secondary. Tyler Shuck, man, like throws backside digs and can run the zone read and can throw the ball downfield. Like, this is kind of what we're hoping for fantasy. The Jets are horrific. And I think that Kellen Moore is at that level of a play designer to find the weaknesses of defenses and find ways to get some explosives on that. So I think Tyler Shuck is a rock solid play. Baker Mayfield, his skill guys are all healthy. His interior offensive line is not. He hasn't been running the ball quite as much, but this is a must-win game against the Carolina Panthers. He's kind of been more of a boom-bust quarterback too this year. Trevor Lawrence is on absolute heater. Let's see that against a real defense in Denver versus some of the defenses he's faced recently, but that offense has come alive. Liam Cohen, I think he's a top 10 NFL coach. Trevor Lawrence has been playing like a top 10 NFL quarterback recently against these bad defenses. This is like a true test for him. We'll see if he can avoid the interceptions over the middle, but it's been a while since we've had those. And I think that's because the wide receivers are mostly healthy. Kirk Cousins coming off an insane game. He shreds the Bucs and then kind of struggles versus everybody else. They are 9th in projected points this week as a team though. So this is ranking him a lot lower than where his team's expected to finish. So I think he's got more upside than this. The Cardinals defense is really bad. Right now, dealing with a lot of injuries in the secondary on top of it. So like lots of like safeties and corners are banged up right now. So Kirk Cousins, you can do worse. Bryce Young, handle the blitz. Right now, I think they're 30th in EPA versus the blitz. It's Todd Bowles time. I will say Todd Bowles kind of like back up against the wall. Lots of corners are banged up. His edge rushers has like not been able to bring enough standalone pressure. So it's going to be a boom bust game plan and everything for Bryce Young. Could he throw the ball downfield and beat the blitz? Then he has a big game. If he can't, then it's struggle city. So I think there's going to be they're going to ask Bryce Young to do a lot more in this one. So that'll be fun. Aaron Rodgers, update on him. Game script is on his side. Talked about that, chasing 7 points against the Lions in a dome. They got a lot of injuries in the secondary. Also wanted to mention Rodgers has his backup left tackle, Isaac Seumalo, their left guard. He left last week. And then in practice, Zach Frazier, their center, he left. So we'll see what offensive line they're trotting out there. That makes me a little bit nervous for Rodgers, but no doubt about it, he's playing his best ball in a while the last couple weeks. Gardner Minshew, you know the deal. Like no Rashee Rice on top of that. Offensive line is completely disastrous. It's the Tennessee Titans at the same time. So don't have a whole lot to say about Gardner Minshew. JJ McCarthy, we saw the upside this last week. He can run. He can throw the ball down the field. It's just inconsistent. Does he hit the big plays, move the football against the Giants? I like it. Just thinking out loud, let's move Gardner Minshew behind JJ McCarthy if we can here. Yeah, he just got more upside. Just he can throw the deep ball down the field, and I don't trust Gardner Minshew at all. Marcus Mariota, really like what he's done. This is a much, much, much more difficult test. No Larry Tunsil at left tackle. You got the Eagles secondary, who I think are like uniquely built to beat how the Commanders want to move the ball, which is like shot plays down the field and some gadget stuff underneath. They can rally and tackle, and they got Quinyon Mitchell. So tough spot. The next of these guys, I have like just no faith in them whatsoever. So that's Cam Ward, Shedeur Sanders, Quinn Ewers, Phillip Rivers. We didn't even get Brady Cook in there. I think that's totally fine with me. And then Kenny Pickett, same thing. So those teams projected for not a whole lot of points. All right, in and out in about an hour. This will be the last show of the week. We'll do sit starts on Sunday morning. Then we'll do a recap show Sunday night. A probably abbreviated schedule because it's Christmas. We have 3 games on Christmas, which is a Thursday, which means I got to get all my rankings done before Christmas Eve. So expect a lot of shows early next week. Not going to do stats versus film. Once again, congrats to Josh, Sierra, and Jay, the Norris family. Everybody involved. You're going to crush it, Josh. Super happy for you. Thanks to producer Mosho, producer Weaves, everybody out there for subscribing, liking, commenting, all that fun stuff. Fight on. Use promo code The Show.